Building a platform like this is not trivial, but we knew what we could do really quickly is build an auction platform.
And there wasn't very much for people to do on the app at that time.
We got 2,500 signups, we got 85,000 page views, and we did over $20,000 of sales in those 2 days.
So after the open beta launch, it validated for us that there was a market desire for NFTs, and we sold a couple of very high value NFTs for a lot of money. But it was always within our DNA from the beginning that we wanted to make this platform more accessible to everybody.
So the original go-to-market was high-value deals with big celebrities.
We always knew the whole concept related to NFTs, relating to big celebrities, and I think we kept lying to ourselves that that was gonna work.
It turned out that just wasn't a reality in the NFT space.
And we saw this in our data by the number of people who came into the auctions and they wanted to participate. But the second the product was over a $100 or $200 mark, they were excluded. We wanted to create a platform that was open and accessible to all people, and that it empowered even the smallest creator to monetize their work in a meaningful way.
But then we had a brainwave. Why don't we go for volumes? You know, we've developed this technology that nobody else has that allows us to mint NFTs effectively for free.
That's where we really started experimenting with the idea of having open, free minting.
I think most of the money, counterintuitively, will be from, microtransactional volumes.
Open minting is great. It doesn't cost you anything to mint something. It should also not cost somebody who wants your content or wants to own your content. It shouldn't necessarily cost them something, but they have the option and opportunity to pay you for your work. And that's where we came up with the tipping and pay what you can component of it. All of the UI up until this point had been designed by Adam, Josh, and myself. I think we're reasonably good at UI, but we're also trying to push out something that looks half decent, functions really well, and get it out quickly.
When Steph came along, he was able to spend a lot more time. Him and Nathan will be able to spend a lot more time, thinking in depth about each page and how it goes. And I think that's obviously really important. We're heading into a new mature state in the business.
We needed to make the application a lot more user-friendly. Remember, our entire goal here is to make this accessible to everyone. So it needs to be really understandable and intuitive from the get-go.
It was still an auction platform when we initially started the redesign, but Adam came to the creative team and said, we're gonna have to do a reskin of the app. And then I had been playing with designs already, so I just showed some mock-ups that I did, and then we decided, okay, cool, that's the direction we're going, and then we started designing immediately after that meeting, I think.
So Steph came into the office one day and showed me this design he'd been working on. Something he just threw together one night, and I said to him, I was like, Steph, do you know what you've done? Like, you've pretty much designed the whole app. Showed it to the guys, got them to sign off on it, and that one image was the blueprint on which we designed the whole of Moment. Then the tipping thing happened, and we had to change designs a few times because of that. As the app was developing, we were designing to try and stay ahead of the devs all the time. But we were in startup mode, so I never really had time to present to them. And then nothing really happened properly. How do we get them to change the colors? We tried changing the font, but it didn't work. Yeah, it was so muted, it was so dull.
Yeah, it was ugly. It was, yeah.
I'm gonna confirm this bad boy. See now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 40, 41, 42, 43, 43 seconds. Sick, but I collected it.
Yeah.
There it is. I collected an NFT, boys.
Awesome.
We're
So dude,
getting like 8 times the size of it.
Adam, bro, Loisy posted an NFT, he minted it and everything, sorted, and then I followed him and I collected it. And everything worked.
Oh, fuck yeah, man.
So why did we set such tight deadlines? This is the analogy that I use. We're running a race, but we can't see our competitors. They could be leagues ahead of us because they've been building this for a year already. They could be behind us because they haven't figured out the same kind of interactions that we figured out to make our minting costs so low. We don't know. All we can do is sprint.
Anyways, like the real reason was we struggled for time. We pushed in a whole bunch of stuff. Like we've redesigned the application. There's a lot to go in here. It was slightly underestimated the complexity of certain things. Not to mention the fact that we had other people. We had people on leave and 2 people sick.
Yeah, but on Friday, we were going to do general posting. Like, we were going to open it up to a whole bunch of artists to say, you guys can all do general posting. The reason why we didn't do that is because of timelines and everything you spoke about, but also then because we were like, fuck, we need to do payment, and payment pushed us out by a few days. And we had to wait for fucking banking details. That also pushed us out. First of all, I want to say the fact that we missed the deadline is not necessarily a bad thing, right? We set unrealistically tight deadlines to push ourselves to get as close to that as possible. And we missed the deadline by literally like a couple of days.
Yeah, I think it was just chaotic. Like we had just also come out after building the MVP, we were so tired. We all had pulled I think like 2 or 3 days, like having like 2 hours of sleep every day is just nothing. And then coming out of that, we're exhausted. Now we've just got investment. Now we have to like build some new tech, and we're all exhausted, feeling a bit fatigued, just feeling a bit of burnout.
And the lesson that we learned from that was we should have immediately noted when Loisy got sick, for example, push out our deadlines. You know, why not? It's an internal deadline. Realize you're not going to make it anymore. Factors have changed, shifted out a little bit, but we didn't do that. And we kept the pressure on ourselves because we wanted to keep pushing ourselves to meeting this already sort of unrealistic deadline. Cool. Yeah, we're gonna set a cutoff. So even if it's fucking broken, we're live.
We were super excited. People were immediately starting to post. We had people buying and tipping items, which was really exciting, and we were like super stoked about it. And we validated that there are a lot of people that actually want to tip.
Yeah, these are the wireframes for this. So they were all full of The Weeknd and Drake and Kylie Jenner. Had this purple, this logo here. If it were like that, that's basically what we have now, slightly different, but you can't see it. That's what I saw kind of the day I came in. Hang on. It's not bad, but I'll show you what it looked like. That's what it looked like. The icon was at the bottom. This was really thin. And from the distance, you can't even tell what the logo is. That's why I wanted to change it, just legibility. It just looks old school, very old school.
Very, very old
school. Then it kind of became these.
Yeah, I remember those.
Even though people were really stoked about how we were going about NFTs versus other platforms, there was still just this underlying too many people coming up with suggestions and trying to say what they felt about the platform. And when that's happened, we were just kind of brainstorming all the time based on that feedback. Like, what are we missing? What are we doing wrong? How can we make it better? Like, there's something not right.
Oh, go collect this now. It's like fucking free. Like, go get it. Go get it. So, I've been thinking about this long. Like, the best way to get the most money for both the creators and us would be to have a set price for one of them, like the one edition, and then everybody else can collect. That way, you have the person who rarely wants it.
Oh, that's the first edition. That's cool.
Yes.
That is also cool. Aaron owns the first edition, right? That's why you're buying it. So at the end of the day, the reason you're doing that is that is the special
edition. And as a curator, you want to own the first edition because you want it to say that, like,
you're
people
the curator.
go into your profile.
Yeah.
It could be quite cool because then that first item is always like pegged at like a high price, and you can't, like, if you want to buy that one, you have to fucking
And everything
buy
else
it.
is kind of like you
Everyone
buying
else
prints.
collectible.
Yeah, it's like a print.
The rest of
They consider price
The
that,
rest
like,
are
at this
collectible.
price, if someone buys it for this, honestly, I don't even fucking
Yeah,
want to.
then they get it. Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
Cool.
And then
Well,
we,
that
and then we take-
it links more to the real art world. Where you have
And that's where we had to make some changes into allowing people to set a price on their first edition, hold on to that first edition. The rest are all collectible, but this first edition you set an exact price on, and you can offer some benefits to your fans for buying the first edition. So for example, something that we introduced was the ability to unlock extra links or content for whoever owns the first edition.
We hear first edition updates, but then we ended up going for this sort of thing where it says username owns the first edition. Yeah, what's an edition? These things came in. Since I started doing UI, I've learned a lot because I thought about it a lot more and looked at a lot of things more critically because it had some flaws and we've had time to test it, listen to our users and see what's missing. So now we've implemented little timestamps, which we missed before. So we've also got first edition owners here now, or if it's available, just a button to buy it. This is actually wrong. So now if you buy a first edition, your name will be on everyone's feed. So yeah, cool. That's future designs.
Making the decision to allow for completely open free minting to everyone was a bold decision, and we were the first platform in the world to do that.
I think where everyone else was going one direction and seeing the market being high value NFTs, we saw it in the mass market, and yeah, just really excited that we got there first and did it absolutely flawlessly. We got roughly about 4,000 collections, which is more than I expected, so I was really excited, and it's been climbing like crazy ever since.
It being free, there was some great content and there was some not so great content, but what we did see is some really good engagement from the community. Artists were tipping each other and actually still paying each other even though they could effectively collect for free. Getting our app on the iOS App Store, however, was significantly harder than we thought.
Can I say this on camera because I'm actually fucking pissed. Fuck you, Google and Apple, you are fucking horrible.